Hello and welcome to CATEX-TV. I'm Tom Bailey in London. It's 4:30 PM in London, 11:30 Eastern Time and 12:30 in Bermuda. Today in history. Today in 1967, the people of Gibraltar voted whether to remain British or not, and the vote was 12,138 for remaining British and 44 against, so quite overwhelming. And today in 1976, two airliners collided over Yugoslavia, killing all 176 people aboard. Now to the news. Mexican police have arrested a man who briefly hijacked a plane with 104 people on board, saying he wanted to warn Felipe Calderon, the president, of an impending earthquake. Security forces stormed the plane yesterday with guns drawn and detained 5 suspects, including one of which was a Mexican congressman, but later said there was only one hijacker involved. No shots were fired and all passengers and crew were released unharmed. Juan Molinar, the transport minister, told Mexico's Televisa channel, "The passengers are safe, there was no bomb." General Garcia Luna, Mexico's public safety secretary, said Jose Mar Flores, a 44-year-old Bolivian man, told investigators he hijacked Aeromexico Flight 576 after a divine revelation. Flores said he had had a revelation that Mexico was facing a great disaster and was threatened by an earthquake, according to Luna. The Boeing 737 aircraft was seized in the beach resort of Cancun and flown to the capital, Mexico City, where it landed safely. Flores, speaking to reporters after he was detained, said he took control of the aircraft with a fake bomb. He said it was a juice can with some lights that I attached, and held passengers and crew on the tarmac for more than an hour. He told police his action was prompted by the realization that the date 999 is the satanic number 666 upside down. The airport remained open throughout the incident, although flights were suspended. One of the passengers who was released from the aircraft told Mexican television she had not realized the flight had been hijacked until the plane landed at Mexico City. Adriana Romero said, "We realized it was a hijack when we saw the police trucks." An explosion at a coal mine in China's central Henan province has killed at least 42 workers and left another 44 miners trapped, according to officials. The country's work safety watchdog said the pre-dawn explosion occurred at Jinghao No. 4 pit in Pingding Shan City on Tuesday. The State Administration of Work Safety, in a statement on its website, said that 14 of the 93 men who were underground at the time of the blast managed to escape. It did not say what caused the explosion. China's mines are the deadliest in the world, with unregulated mines accounting for up to 80% of the country's 16,000 mines. An average of 13 workers are killed every day in the country, with most accidents blamed on lax safety standards and a rush to feed demand from a robust economy. Despite pledges by the Chinese government to improve safety, regulations are poorly enforced, while the country's soaring demand for energy and resources often means many unsafe mines continue to operate. In 2008 alone, more than 3,000 people died in coal mine accidents across China. President Barack Obama has made one of the most important speeches of his presidency as he faced Congress over his plans for healthcare reform. Mr. Obama said that failure to introduce reform had led the country to breaking point and it was now time to act. He said he planned to improve health insurance for those who have it and to create an insurance exchange to extend cover to those who do not. Republicans said Mr. Obama's plans would make healthcare much more expensive. Mr. Obama told Congress that the US was the only developed country that allowed millions of its people to endure the hardship of going without healthcare. He said everyone understands the extraordinary hardships that are placed on the uninsured who live every day just one accident or illness away from bankruptcy. These are not primarily people on welfare, these are middle-class Americans. But Mr. Obama said the current system did not serve well those Americans who have health insurance either. He said those who do have insurance have never had less security and stability than they do today. More and more Americans worry that if you move, lose your job or change your job, you'll lose your health insurance too. He said the US spent 1.5 times more on health insurance than any other country, but Americans were no healthier than other people. Mr. Obama set out details of his plan to reform the system. He said that nothing in his proposal would require Americans who already have health insurance to change their coverage or their doctor. But he said he would make the insurance work better for those individuals by prohibiting insurers from dropping coverage for sick patients or by capping it. He would also require insurers to cover the cost of routine checkups and preventative care for the millions of uninsured Americans. He said he would create an insurance exchange, a marketplace where individuals and small businesses will be able to shop for health insurance at competitive prices. Mr. Obama said public insurance option would help keep the private health insurance companies honest and competitive, but he said it would not be subsidized by the government, so would not create unfair competition for the private sector. He added that the public option was only a means to an end, and he remained open to other ideas if they had the same effect. When Mr. Obama said illegal immigrants would not benefit from his plan, the Republican ranks showed signs of near mutiny. One Republican representative shouted, "You lie," and the president paused briefly. In the official Republican response to Mr. Obama's speech, Representative Charles Boustany, a heart surgeon, urged a fresh start on a common-sense, bipartisan plan. He added, "Replacing your family's current health care with government-run health care is not the answer. In fact, it'll make health care much more expensive." There's a reasonably high level of storm activity in both the Atlantic and the Pacific at the moment. In the Atlantic, Hurricane Fred is now up to hurricane category with sustained winds of 104 knots. Its course is quite erratic and it's currently tracking northwest, but it's expected to veer northwards and then further westwards and to weaken to below hurricane strength. In the eastern Pacific, Hurricane Linda has sustained winds of 70 knots and is tracking to the northwest. Linda is not on a trajectory for landfall at the moment. In the western Pacific, Tropical Storm Dujuan has sustained winds of 55 knots and is tracking northeast away from land. And finally, Tropical Depression Mujige is developing with current sustained winds of 30 knots, is tracking west and is on course to cross the Chinese island of Hainan and will then make landfall in Vietnam near the capital Hanoi. We'll keep you updated with this and any other storm developments as they occur. As executive pay and remuneration continues to retain its spot in the headlines, Henry Engelhardt, the millionaire head of UK insurance brand Admiral, who earns £320,000 a year as chief executive of the Admiral Insurance Group, has criticised high pay packets of insurance bosses. Speaking on the BBC Radio 4's Today programme, Engelhardt, who's 51, said he was sometimes shocked at the remuneration offered to fellow top bosses. He said, "I am a founder-owner of the company, so it's not just my salary which keeps me going. There's food on the table every night, it's true, but I do think it's amazing when you see some of the pay packages put together. What can a chief executive officer do to warrant the kind of packages put together compared to the other people working in the organisation? I do think things should be spread a bit more. It's important that people feel a part of the organisation. Ownership is a part of that, and it shouldn't just be restricted to top management." Admiral staff are each in line for £1,500 worth of shares in the company. Geraldine Lloyd-Thompson has appointed Kelly Crouch as head of terrorism within its credit, political and security risk team. Crouch has joined JLT from Miller, where she worked within the risk team specialising in terrorism for 7 years. Nick Robson, head of credit, political and security risk at JLT, said, "Kelly's a great addition to our team as we look to build our specialist expertise in this area. With terrorist activity increasing and evolving, never has there been so great a need to protect assets. Many banks require terrorism insurance before they fund projects, while good corporate governance also demands sufficient cover. Yet many insurance policies are now exclude losses arising from